we've learned that what are called real business cycles really matter. So yes, we're big believers that aggregate demand shocks are significant. They were the major force behind the 2008 crisis, but this time around, it was a virus. That makes a business cycle look different. The first hit comes to aggregate supply. This is probably the largest world depression of all time ever, and it mostly has been caused by a virus. We are the one text that from the beginning, but now all the more in the fifth edition, has good, true, realistic, balanced coverage of real business cycle theory.
Yeah, and I think networks as well. So, I think one thing we learned is that, for want of a nail, the war was lost, and we've seen in the pandemic testing that you could, for want of a swab, the tests don't work. So this indicates that the economy really is a network. And most of the time we can kind of ignore that network structure because everything works just fine. It's all smooth, it's all coordinated. The price system coordinates that network structure. But when you have a big shock and that network structure, one chain of it gets broken, then the whole network gets broken. So we get more attention.
A lot of cold storage for those vaccines. That's what
Yeah.
he's telling you. So get your refrigerators ready.
Exactly. It's funny though, because when we began to revise the textbook, this was pre-COVID, we thought that the chapter on trade would be the major revision because we had the China shock and then we had the China trade shock. Trump, has had the largest shock to trade since Smoot-Hawley, since the Great Depression. And that has created a whole bunch of really excellent empirical work, which looks at first how the China shock spread throughout the US economy, and then how the second China shock, the trade war, how that spread throughout the US economy. And you can actually see Hecker-Olin in practice. You can see it worked out empirically. And the trade shock also had implications for politics. So we can tell students, and we can direct students to look, the way that the places where the China shock was largest also had higher votes for Trump, just exactly consistent with Hecker-Olin theory. So in the new edition, we got a lot more on trade, the political economy of trade. We also have more on platform economics, Facebook and Twitter. Like, why are these major institutions, major goods and services in our economy, they're free, right? How do you explain free goods? So we have.
Why do people get upset about free goods, for that matter?
Yeah, it's very peculiar, right? That people get upset about free goods. But how are free goods priced, if I may put it that way? And interesting, it turns out you can explain this with the same way that you can explain why firms give free flu shots, because there's an internalization of an externality. But I'll save that for the textbook.